Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. Let's get started with the story of the week.
We have this absolutely horrible story of the week. So back in August, this 12-year-old girl had 3 of her friends over for a sleepover. Throughout the night, her father was very involved in all their activities, which I'm sure having a husband that is a father of 3 girls, you're like, that's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, because whenever kids sleep over here, my husband locks himself up in his office. He wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but it's kind of unclear where the mom was in all of this, so he was constantly checking up on them, just involving himself in their conversations, and they're probably like, get away from us, loser, whatever. So the first thing that really stuck out that was weird about the story is one of the girls said that after they had gone in the hot tub, the dad insisted they all take showers before going to bed, which did you ever shower at a friend's house when you were a little kid?
No, that's so weird.
I wouldn't even do
normally
that now.
You're supposed to shower before you go in a hot tub, not after. I mean, I could see if it's chlorinated, you might want to rinse that off because that's not great to be sitting on a kid's skin, I guess. But no, it's just weird.
Yes.
Just let them have fun.
So that was the first major red flag to me. So eventually throughout the night, the dad made these mango smoothies that he offered to all of the girls and really insisted they take not even 1 serving, but 2. And they recounted that they had these white chunks in them sprinkled throughout. And he was really insistent that they only drink from their cup. They had different color straws indicating cups. His daughter, at one point, he thought his daughter and one of the other girls swapped cups, and he started freaking out. And they were like, what is this dude's deal? So they go to bed around midnight, and one of the girls didn't drink the smoothie. She only took a couple sips and thought something was weird and thought it tasted bad. So she kind of was able to hide it and not drink the whole thing. So she was kind of awake when he comes down in the basement and starts checking on them to see if they're awake. He's putting his finger under their nose to see if they're sound asleep. He moved the girl next to her's body. He was going into another bedroom in the basement where the other girls were sleeping. So she starts freaking out and texts her mom frantically at 1 o'clock. Well, it was near 2 o'clock in the morning. It was like, please come get me. I don't feel safe. You're knocked out at 2 o'clock in the morning as an adult, right? So she just kept texting people on her phone until she finally got a hold of a family friend that came and picked her up in the middle of the night. So when this girl gets home and tells the whole thing to her mom calls the other parents, and they go to pick the kids up. But when they go to the house, the dad's really resisting the whole thing and just saying they're still asleep, don't bother them, they had a really good time, blah, blah, blah. So they're not having that. So one of the girls' parents goes in and gets her daughter, and the girl is totally out of sorts. She doesn't know what's going on. She could barely keep her eyes open. She's walking really weird. They take these girls to the hospital, and it turns out that the dad had drugged these smoothies.
Oh my God. Yeah, so they got tested at the hospital, and they had benzodiazepines in their system, which is, everybody's heard of them, like Xanax or Valium, something like that, or Klonopin. And he crushed them up and put them inside of their smoothies. A benzodiazepine is a central nervous, it makes the central nervous system depressed, which means that, yeah, it's good when you have anxiety. It makes you chill out and stuff, but it also can give you amnesia. It could be used as a date rape drug, which we've heard of roofies before as a benzodiazepine. Who knows what the hell this guy, which one he put in their smoothie, but more importantly, what were his intentions?
Well, what really stood out to me is, for people that don't know me, I had this wonderful couple, Joan and Joe, watch me when I was a little kid, and I kind of got my obsession with dramas and soap opera and true crime a little bit from her, because she obsessively watched soaps and called them her stories, and I love that. But she was huge on Dr. Phil. And I want to say about 15 years ago, we were watching an episode where this father had given all these girls at his daughter's sleepover iced tea and had drugged them or roofied them or something and was sexually assaulting them in the middle of the night. But one girl got suspicious to it because she was thinking, every time I sleep here, I feel really weird the next day when I wake up, so I'm not going to drink this iced tea. And she caught him in the act with one of her friends, which how traumatic is that as a little kid? So that story always really stuck out to me. And the topic of sleepovers has been coming up a lot. Is it appropriate anymore? Some trauma therapists say that a lot of cases they get kids are assaulted when they're at sleepovers by, an older brother, a father, a strange person in the house. I don't know how to feel about it.
I mean, I'm kind of over sleepovers anyway, because my girls are of age, and every time they have a sleepover, it's like they're up all night, they get in a fight with one of the sisters, there's like all this drama, they're dickheads the next morning. Like, I'm very selective anymore about what kid I let sleep over and how often I allow that, just because there's just too much to deal with surrounding it. And my kids, they've never slept. They slept at a friend's one time each. So that's it. We don't really do it, fortunately. And yeah, I mean, if you interview all these parents, would they say that they knew that this was happening, that they were suspicious of this guy doing anything like this? I don't know. I mean, I guess we could say luckily they only ended up getting high, but really they could have died from this, because it decreases your respiration rate. You can die from this. People overdose on this kind of stuff all the time. And it's just not cool. Like, do you have any examples of some of the text messages that these kids were sending? I was reading in the article, they were saying just, like, help me, I don't feel good. Just really alarming things. Imagine just being a parent and getting text messages thinking that, and a kid that's 12 years old, they don't 100% know that they're drugged, or because they haven't experimented with anything. They might have taken like Benadryl or something before, but to think that girl, at least one of them, was smart enough to be like, something isn't right here. I mean, at 12 years old is really good. And they came back and said that what was the dad going through, a divorce or something like that?
Well, he just turned himself in last week and is just filing for divorce. So I don't know if they were going through a separation at the time or had planned a divorce. Also, why did it take so long for him to have to turn himself in? That was kind of confusing to me if this happened back in August. I mean,
yeah, that annoys the shit out of me, because if they knew that this happened, why wasn't he in jail the next day? Like, I'm serious.
Exactly. And these were 12-year-old. He it's not like he just drugged the daughter's friends. He drugged the daughter as well, but just the three of them had been brought to the hospital, not the daughter. But you have to think these are 12-year-old girls, and it's just really disgusting behavior.
Was he doing this because I know, like, the few times that I've had kids sleep here, sometimes I'll say, like, hey, can the kids take a melatonin gummy at like 11 o'clock so they could start winding down? Was that his intention, just to have them? I mean, listen, benzodiazepines for children are absolutely over the top, but or was he planning on sexually? I mean, I feel like he was probably planning on sexually assaulting them, because why was he going downstairs and trying to check to make sure that they were really asleep like that? Like, why would he care if they weren't making noise,
Yeah, I mean, you can, not that it makes it right, but you could see that he might do it to like get them to shut up and go to bed, right? But like the fact that he was going down there and not just making sure they're awake, like, oh shit, did I give them too much? The fact that he was like moving their bodies around, and I don't like that. I mean, no matter what, this story isn't right, but I just feel like there was really ill intent behind the whole thing. And my mind immediately went to that Dr. Phil episode from so long ago, because I just remembered hearing the perspective of the girls that had to go through that and how absolutely horrific it was and how scary it must be. I mean, sleepovers I had with my best friends when I was little kids are some of my best memories of my childhood. I can't imagine my trust being violated in this manner at all.
Yeah, it really sucks. And I just keep thinking about those parents. Like, if that happened to me and my kids, like, I don't know if it would go down like this, because I'm pretty sure that Gabe and I would want to take matters into our own hands and not just like wait for this guy to turn himself in, because I can't imagine just like sitting back and being like, you know what? I'm going to let the legal system work this out for us.
Well, it clearly took a long time, so.
Okay, let's get into celebrity news.
This is another really sad story. So, Sister Wives star Janelle, she is one of the Sister Wives. Her son, Garrison Brown, has been found dead at age 25 from an apparent suicide. So, Sister Wives came out in 2010. For those that are unfamiliar, it's this show that follows around a polygamous family. So, basically, this guy, Cody Brown, is married to 4 women, but only legally married to one of them. But they live this lifestyle where, you know, they all live in separate houses, or at one time they had one big house with separate sections. So he kind of bounces between the families, which is definitely not a usual dynamic. Polygamy is a branch of Mormonism, but is now it's not acceptable by modern day Mormons. They really shun those people out. It's illegal in many states. So this family's just been bouncing all around the country, trying to figure out where to live. And then, the show's been on for the last 14 years. This kid was 11 years old when this show first came out. So he's in this really untraditional family dynamic to begin with. And then all of a sudden you throw cameras in your face 24/7 for most of your life. And it's just really horrible to see. And we don't really know if him being on the show was a direct result of him taking his own life, but I don't think it helped that he was under this kind of pressure all the time.
Yeah, I know there's multiple studies that have been done that say that children of celebrities have an increased risk of alcoholism and depression. And the same could be said about children that are in polygamous relationships and the result of that. So they have more mental health problems, more social problems. And I think it's the combination of both things that you could agree. And it's just like a really shitty time of life right now, too. It's just a combination of everything. I mean, think about the pandemic and everything and already being vulnerable and then going through lockdowns and this and that. Like, it just took a toll on them. And it's just really sad to see, because when the show started, Maria and I used to watch it. I mean, I admit it's like one of the trash TV shows that we used to watch. And yeah, like, it's just sad to see like a little kid, now that he's grown up and he chose to do this. It's just really sad.
Well, it's not only that, but so, they have this really unconventional family dynamic, and then it kind of starts crumbling. When COVID happened and the lockdown happened, the dad, who is kind of the central point of this entire dynamic, decides he wants to permanently reside with his, his latest, youngest wife, right? So he kind of shut himself off from his 3 other families, essentially, which created a lot of strain with the other wives. They've now since all left him. He is only with the 4th wife at this time. So you have to think, you're going through this really unusual dynamic. Then you guys are reality stars. Then everything you've ever known is crumbling before you. The 3rd wife left first, and then this guy's mother left second. So they announced they were separated in December of 2022. Publicly in the last season, the father was saying he had a strained relationship specifically with this kid and one of his brothers, and it was due to just the lockdown, him not spending time with them, they're not communicating. And as I see this unfold, it seems like the family's just in shambles and hates the dad now, and they're resentful.
The family's in shambles. You could have never foresaw that when people get married to 3 different people.
So it's
a complete shocker.
I do feel really horrible for the mother. Apparently, he sent this really bizarre text message to some people they had worked with at TLC, and that forced her to call him, and he seemed okay on the phone. But then when he stopped responding, she asked one of her other children to go check on him, and that's who ended up finding him deceased.
That sucks.
So it's really, really sad to see. And I think this is one of the first reality suicides we've seen in a while, since Taylor Armstrong's husband, Russell, had died by suicide on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills all those years ago.
Yeah, and I'm sure, reality TV shows haven't been on too long, so you might see that increasing more depending on what's happening with, especially when little kids are involved. I just not a huge fan of that.
And the cameras were rolling. They're filming right now, so the production needs to make a choice. Are they going to show this to try to shed light on the dangers of this, or are they going to give the family their respect? Personally, I don't think this is appropriate for them to show them going through this at this time, but that's not up to me. I'm not the cable executive. Obviously, it'll draw major ratings, but is that what it's about? Like, this family's going through this terrible event right now.
That's what it's always about.
Yeah. So, on to the next story. We have fashion icon Iris Apfel has died at 102 years old. This lady was so cool. I always loved looking at her fashion, her interior design. She was awesome.
She's like so cool. I hope I look cool like that when I get old. Like, and it's really interesting because there's not that many people. It's like 1 in 5,000 people live over 100 years old. And so it's pretty remarkable that she lived so long, and it's great because she was just such a great person and a great inspiration. So it's really cool that why don't you describe who she is? Because I think that a lot of people might not know her name, but they know exactly who she is if they saw a photo of her.
Okay, so kind of getting into her life. So from 1950 to 1992, her and her husband had this textile company. So they actually had a contract with the White House that spanned 9 presidencies. So she did interior textiles for all these presidents, to which I thought this was hilarious. She said many of the first ladies did not have good taste.
So, yeah, except Jackie O, right? Like, it's probably true. That I haven't seen one that's had like their own individual fashion like that's been like iconic, you know?
Exactly. So from that, she kind of became this New York socialite, and in the 80s and 90s, she became this fashion icon. She, costume jewelry in the fashion world for a long time was really shit on, and she really embraced that. She loves tchotchkes. She loves wearing these outrageous big black round glasses. That's what her most notable look is. She's always wearing a million necklaces, colorful clothing. She really was awesome. She called herself a geriatric starlet, which I absolutely love.
That's great.
So she really drew critical acclaim in 2005 because she did a show at the Costume Institute at the Met, which featured her personal collection of costume jewelry styled with clothing she had worn. So after that, this Iris boom happened. Everybody knew about her. They thought she was the coolest person. Rightfully so. She was awesome. And at 97 years old, she signed with IMG Models, which is a huge accomplishment because some of our world's biggest models we know today don't even sign with a modeling agency that large. So just last week, she died in her home in Palm Beach. She was 102 years old. That followed her husband, who died in 2015 at 100 years old.
I love this. That I want to know how old her parents were when they died, because there definitely is a genetic portion to this.
Yeah.
My grandmom, which is my dad's mom, lived to be 99, just a few months short of her 100th birthday. And I'll tell you, she had good genes, obviously, as part of it, but she also had a pretty good lifestyle. She cooked all the time. She always ate fruit. She didn't drive. Like both of my grandmoms just didn't drive.
That
but
would add some years to my life.
I like get that because I'm about at that stage where I'm just kind of like overdriving.
Oh, you mean when I had to drive you to your nail appointment yesterday,
yes,
like you were a 95-year-old woman?
Yes. Well, it's because my car's out of service. Don't act like I'm that much of a princess, but I do see that for sure. But anyway, my grandma walked everywhere. She rode a bike until she had this like adult-sized tricycle that she rode every day in the summer until she was 93, I think. And the only reason she stopped is because she fell off and broke her hip. But there's a lot to be said by that. And just walking every day is like a huge thing. And I think that I just think that this woman was, an inspiration and just so positive, and I love her, and I am kind of bummed out that she died, but I mean, I'm happy for her that she got, and her family, that she got to live such a long life.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, this next one's pretty outrageous.
You know what? I was texting Gandhi this morning at like 3:00 in the morning because I obviously I never sleep. She's like, "What are you doing awake?" And I'm like, I'm reading about Hailey Bieber's sister throwing a tampon at somebody.
Oh my God, what did she say to that?
Oh, she was just like, "That story's so outrageous." And I'm like, yeah, it is. We need to talk about this for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Aliyah Baldwin Aronow, who is Hailey Bieber's sister and Stephen Baldwin's daughter, she's my age, 31 years old, was charged after throwing a tampon at a bartender in Savannah, Georgia. So around 2:30 in the morning, she was out with friends when she forced herself into a locked employee bathroom. The only female bartender at the time, of course, was sent in there to deal with it. I have been in this position many times at my job, being the only female bartender for a long time. She asked Aliyah to leave the bathroom, but allowed her a few minutes to change her tampon. When she went back in, she threw the tampon at her. Security came in to remove her. She kicked one in the genitals, yanked a portion of the other one's hair out before she left, and then the cops had to get involved.
Okay, that is just seriously some nasty bitch shit. Like, who does that?
No, it's disgusting.
I mean, even if you're drunk and stuff, like, that's like really gross.
No, like that, you deserve
like
to be
worse
punched
than
in the face.
That's like worse than like throwing poop at somebody, I think. It's just like the highest level of nastiness.
It really is disgusting, and even if you're doing that when you're drunk, you need to get a hold of yourself. It's totally unacceptable.
Well, do you think that she's got this like rich kid, famous dad, famous sister syndrome, like thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to go in the regular bathroom. I'm just going to go in the employee bathroom because I'm somebody," kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have that mentality, like I'll get out of it, or I'm a notable name, so they won't tell me no because they don't want me to blow up their spot, right? And call them out online. But I just think the day and age of people acting like that is over. So we need to adjust a little bit.
She won't get in any trouble. But, I'm wondering how this is, because how this is going to be charged, because technically you're giving someone an exposure to bloodborne pathogens, bacteria and viruses. Like, I don't know if that's on any kind of a different level. I always thought this was weird. Like, I'd be at work, right? And just dissecting organs or doing autopsies. And then like all the paper towels and stuff that I use, I would just have to throw in a biohazard bag, right? And then sometimes, this is when I was like getting tattooed all the time, I would go to go get tattooed, and then they're wiping blood off my arm with the tattoo and then just put the bloody paper towel in a trash can. And I always used to think like, that's kind of weird. They like were so specific in the hospital about putting bloody paper towels and things in the trash can, and then we don't have to do it at a tattoo shop. But then I guess the guy that was tattooing me was like, yeah, well, like if you throw out a pad or something in the trash can, you don't have to do that either, right? So it's interesting, but it doesn't matter. Like, just because you're doing an autopsy on someone in the hospital doesn't mean that they're infectious, and it doesn't mean that Hailey Bieber's sister is infectious either, but she very well could be.
It doesn't even, to me, it doesn't matter if she's infectious.
It doesn't, but like, think of the severity of that. Like, if she has any kind of sexually transmitted infections, if she has HIV, hepatitis, could like live out on a countertop for a couple weeks, like, right? It's just, it's nasty. Bacteria, yeast infection. Where did she throw it? Did it just like throw it at her? Did it touch her body? Did it hit her in the mouth or the eye? Like, I want to know, because she could have potentially had an exposure like that.
It said she threw it at the bartender, so I'm not sure if it made contact, but regardless, absolutely repulsive behavior.
And so what happens? Like, the cops show up and they just like, they come in to take a statement and they see a tampon sitting there on the floor, just like...
Well, she'll probably get assault charges for what happened to the security people, but I'm sure nothing will happen to the most egregious offense, which was the tampon throwing.
Oh my God.
Okay, on to freak accidents. So, a group of people in India went to dinner and ended up in the hospital bleeding from their mouths and barfing after they were accidentally served dry ice.
I don't even understand how this happened. It looks like they were trying to give them like a palate cleanser or something.
Yeah, which they said was ice and sugar. So a waiter came by the table and said, take this palate cleanser, which was ice and sugar. So these people immediately put it in their mouths. And the one person that didn't put it in their mouth was this person holding a baby. So that person ended up recording all of them puking up blood and just throwing up in the restaurant, I guess, as proof that this horrible thing had happened.
Yeah, but why was the guy recording when that was happening? Like,
yeah.
There's something weird about this.
And he was telling one of the people puking to call the cops. Like, they couldn't even talk because they were throwing up so bad.
I don't know. I just think that there's a little bit more to this story. Why, if you were out to dinner with somebody and they were giving you a palate cleanser, right? Why would you be like, you know what? Let me take out my phone and record this. It's just because it was
No, I don't. I think the recording came after they started violently puking.
Oh, okay. Because it seemed like it was pretty early on that he was, just going to people and that they were throwing up all over the place and stuff. Like, what did he just automatically pull out the camera like right away?
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
know.
that's the culture we live in today. People don't want to help others. They want to get it on TikTok. So
Yeah,
they
right.
get
I
the
mean,
views.
exactly. But so listen, we talked about the dangers of dry ice a few weeks ago when we were talking about it being used in a school from some outside chemistry department thing was coming in and teaching classes to kids, and then the kids were in an enclosed area that wasn't ventilated and had CO2 exposure, right? That we talked about that a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago. So if you eat it by accident, the same thing, like the gases that emit off of it and stuff could cause you to get dizzy and give you all the same symptoms of asphyxia because you can have carbon dioxide toxicity, but you also, because it's so cold, you can get really bad burns. Like, were they told to just put this palate cleanser in their mouth and spit it out, or did they actually swallow it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It said they had to go to the hospital. They spent 2 days there recovering, but ultimately they were fine. And the restaurant owner's on the run, so I don't know what that's about.
Like, what is happening?
Yeah, what goes on? But I don't know. So on to this one is truly insane. So after a 4-car accident on the Roger Clark Memorial Bridge in Louisville, Kentucky, a semi-truck slid off the side and started dangling over the railing suspended above the Ohio River with the female truck driver still in the cabin. So if you watch this video of the rescue, it's absolutely crazy. Did you show this to Gabe at all?
Yeah, I asked him about it and he said he saw it and he's like, that guy needed another like a rope strap, whatever they call it. I forget what it's called.
Of course, he was criticizing it.
He said he needed that for his extra balls because he was like, he was like, it was a joke. He was like, that guy's got balls to do that. Like, that was, and I said, you know what exactly I said to him? I said, well, I hope that doesn't happen in Camden because you'll be the first person in line that'll try to do that. Actually.
I know, that's exactly what I thought too. So this fireman goes on a harness down to where the truck cabin is suspended, which the image is just absolutely crazy, and is able to get this woman out of the cabin of the truck and pull her back to safety. I could not even believe watching it. I was like, it was live on TV when it was happening, so they had the whole footage, and I was shaking like, what if they or something?
Well, they've been having rope rescues in New York Fire Department, and just when they go down and we have a good video actually of one from like last year in the gross room. Remember the lady was wearing a thong or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fireman was taking this woman out of a window because her apartment was on fire and she was wearing a thong because, she didn't expect that her house was going to catch on fire and that she'd have to get rescued out of the window. But when I see these firemen going off the roof and doing these rope rescues, I told Gabe, I'm like, if you came to the window and was like, I'm going to grab you and pull you up outside of this high building, I would just be like, I'm not going. I just can't even imagine doing that. I'd be so scared.
No,
so it's what happened with this lady is like really cool. She wasn't even really hurt. They brought her to observe, but I think she was fine.
No, I think psychologically she was she was suspended for 40 minutes. So I think psychologically she was probably just really scared. And, they were saying on the news that the Ohio River was freezing and the distance they were up above it would be equivalent to smacking on concrete if you did fall. So this is absolute best case scenario. Kudos to firefighter Bryce Carden on his good efforts. Right? That was really, really, really brave of him to do. I can't, I would be crying. I don't even know. I couldn't even watch the video.
I know. I just want to cry watching the video.
Okay, so this next story happened in South Jersey. A 17-year-old driver survived crashing into a utility pole, but then was electrocuted to death when he walked into the down power line.
I heard this on the local news the other day. It was just really sad. And I think that you always, even when your kid starts driving and stuff, you try to teach them everything. And this is something that I wouldn't even think about. But actually, the most electrocution deaths. So, electrocution is when you die from getting an electric shock. You can't get electrocuted and survive that. Most of those deaths are actually caused by high voltage power lines being down. And it sucks. It's like the kid got in an accident and survived the accident, was able to walk out of the accident and died this way. And it's just like an important lesson for anyone, even if you're just walking your dog around the block or something, just like stay far and clear away from wires. I always, if I see them, I tell the kids, like, we're walking on the opposite side of the street. I just like don't even want to be anywhere near those things.
No, because
You don't know if they're alive. They just look like this innocent little thing laying there, and it's terrible.
yeah, I mean, you just never know, and it's just safe to try to avoid them altogether. I mean, we had that story a couple weeks ago where everybody in the car ended up dying, right? Getting electrocuted.
Yeah, and so this is what happened with, in this case, this kid hit a utility pole and it knocked the wires over. If that ever happens to anyone, really, you should stay in the car and just call 911. And they were saying this interesting thing, like, if for some reason you have to exit the car, because obviously when there's a crash, there's a risk of the car catching on fire and smoking and stuff. So if you really have to exit the car, they say to like take small shuffles when you walk and keep your legs together as close as possible, because that will like be the least chance that would happen. But, and they also said too, like, if someone is like, so let's say for an instance, that kid got shocked from the wire, you shouldn't go try to help him, because you can then get shocked just by touching him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's one of those really scary things that you can't see. And that, I think that's why, like, it doesn't look dangerous, but it's just so dangerous.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just aren't thinking because they have the shock of just getting in a car accident, and then they're just not thinking
Just
about
add
it.
it to the list. We should make a book of all the things that you need to teach your kid about, because
Like,
just
how to live your life in absolute fear. Seriously. Okay, on to this next one. So this woman was on her deck and her husband was mowing the lawn, and something flew at her from about 6 to 9 meters away, hit her neck, which sliced that and her shoulder open.
Yeah, she was lucky that it only left a laceration on her neck, because they were saying it could have hit her carotid artery, and that could have just been, she could have died from that, honestly. And we did, so one of the Instagram followers sent me a photograph a couple months ago, and the post I titled was "Damage by Decoration." And it was about her husband was mowing the lawn and he ran over one of those garden flags that, you know, everybody has those in the front lawn. It's like a little stake and it has that little cute flag
Yeah.
hanging from it. And the metal from the garden flag stake went into the lawnmower and it cut the metal and it like ricocheted into his leg and got impaled in the bone of his leg.
Oh my God.
And I have pictures of the x-ray and the actual thing in his leg, which is just, it's crazy. But you need to think about that kind of stuff. And this woman in particular thinks that her husband had ran over a rock or something, and that would, a rock flying at a speed like that would cause a laceration like that in her neck. And actually in Australia this week, someone died from a lawnmower incident. So it happens. And especially with the summer coming up, we at the hospital, at the trauma unit, we used to get hands, fingers all the time from people, because you're mowing your lawn, especially if it's longer, and the grass could get lodged in the lawnmower, and then it turns off. It stops mowing. It stops working. And the first rule is like turn it off before you check to see why it's jammed. But a lot of people don't do that, usually men, and not talking shit, but it's just true. They go there and they unlodge the blade with the grass, and then it turns right back on and like cuts off their fingers. And I've gotten hands in surgical pathology that still have grass attached to it. It's so gnarly.
That's gross. But her husband was a police officer and was able to use his training to quickly get the situation under control. So yeah, she's okay.
Every week on Mother Knows Death, we talk about all of these different stories that relates to posts that we have in the gross room, and I think you guys would really love it if you joined. Right now, you could join for only $5.99 a month, and you get to see multiple posts a week. We have thousands of posts, pictures, videos over the course of years. When did we start the gross room? In
2019.
2019, yeah, and you can see all the way back. And it's just really awesome. If you have an interest in any particular topic, you could search by the title. Like I was just telling you about the guy that got impaled with the garden flag, and that is called Damage by Decoration. But you also could just search, like today I didn't remember what I called the post, so I just searched garden flag there and lawnmower. If you search lawnmower, all the lawnmower accidents will come up. So it's really awesome, and we have a great group of people in the gross room, so only $5.99 a month.
Yeah, so visit thegrossroom.com for more info.
All right, let's get started with violent crime.
This is the most repulsive story I've ever heard in my life. Shame on this woman. A Kentucky Senator, Karen Berg, truly suggested during a legislative committee meeting last week that allowing pedophiles access to child sex dolls could help lessen their desire to abuse children.
This lady sucks so bad, and she shouldn't. I can't even believe that she's a senator and she's a lawmaker. She's the most. This kind of mentality is so disgusting. She was, and like you can't listen to a word she says because she starts off calling these people pedophiles. She calls minor attracted people. Okay, like anybody that uses that terminology should never be allowed to be around children, and they really shouldn't be allowed to be around society, to be honest. It's so gross.
Children are not a sexual preference. It's a crime.
It is a crime.
Stop accommodating them. Calling them MAPS is accommodating to a repulsive crime. Stop it. It's a crime.
It seriously is like, we talk about all of these stories every week about kids, like just the one we were talking about the dad drugging the kids with smoothies and everything. It's like, this is a problem. It's so underreported. I mean, it's estimated that there's like 42 million people living in America right now that are victims of childhood sexual abuse. And you're going to go on and say like, oh, if they had these sex dolls, though, they would have a release. You know what the worst part is, actually? This lady is a doctor.
Yeah, and it's like go fuck yourself.
She's so gross. Yeah, go fuck yourself,
So
asshole.
the comments were in response to House Bill 207, which would make it illegal to possess, traffic, import, or promote a child sex doll, as well as criminalize the distribution of computer-generated images that depict a minor being sexually abused. So that wraps in AI. So unanimously, this bill was voted in, except Miss Berg had to chime in with her ill-researched comment. And it's inaccurate. It's disgusting. I wouldn't want to be around this woman. I wouldn't want any children to be around this woman. I just don't understand how you could even try to defend this behavior. It is absolutely disgusting. And if anything, from all of our conversations about child predators, especially in our conversations with Dr. Doss, you learned that it's based off of escalation. So what is going to make a predator not use these dolls and then escalate to wanting to use the real thing, right? So, like, what is she even talking about? And they all have come out and said her research it's illegitimate. They don't even know where she got it from.
I know where she got it from. I saw the paper. She did a lazy Google search. That's what she did. And that research paper was referring to these people as minor attractive persons. So I just wouldn't even read that fucking paper, because we need to, like, set boundaries that like children are off limits, and like you using terminology like that is making it okay and not as bad for them to do what they're doing. And it's so messed up. Those people are equally as to blame as pedophiles are. They should not be standing up for people like that.
No, and people can think our stance is extreme, but I don't care. When it comes to child safety, I don't care. That was a fucked up thing to say, and you don't deserve to be in the government. Bye.
You don't deserve to be in society. That's how I look at it.
No, like, get out of here with
All right,
that.
Off the rant, because I've been pissed off about this for a couple days. You know what I'm more pissed off about? That, like, more people are not completely outraged by this shit. And it's not just her. It's not just her. Like, there's this whole entire movement of people calling these people minor attractive persons. Like, It's seriously is so disturbing. And what was once was considered to be totally off limits is now like, we should have a conversation about, and you're just like, shut up.
There's no conversation. It's
There's
children.
no conversation.
There's hundreds of years of evidence to suggest that sexually exploiting children at a young age has been extremely detrimental to their mental health and life growing up. I just don't
we want to
understand
accommodate. We want to accommodate this sexual preference. What's wrong with that?
No, we don't accommodate people that commit crimes of this nature. So that's that.
Yeah, I just and to think like you're a physician, like that's so you go on national TV as a public figure and you quick Google search something and came up with some shitty paper and that's what you're quoting. Like, you sound like an asshole, dude.
And I'm especially fired up about it because we covered Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy the last 2 weeks in the gross room, and, you know, reading about how this went on for decades and people were just covering him and whatever, it makes you really question society, and this is disgusting, and I will strongly speak about it. I think it was a horrible thing to say, and even if, you know, now she's backtracking, being like, I didn't research properly. Like,
you're taking your words out of context, and it's like, actually, we're not. You can, if you look at the link on the video, you can listen to the video and listen to her in her own words, and just, you sit there and you're listening to her and you're like, dude, what are you saying right now? This is completely outrageous.
Well, now she's like, oh, I have supported the bill. Well, did you actually support the bill? Because it didn't seem like you were going to. And did you do it because of public peer pressure? Which I don't really want somebody voting for something because of public pressure. But maybe if you used your brain and actually thought about something.
She's a fraud like most other politicians. Like, she's a complete fraud and just gross. Like, don't, that whole entire minor attractive person thing, like, needs to go away. Like, everyone needs to condemn that. Anyone that's ever been a child or anyone that has children or has friends that have children or anything, like, just absolutely not.
How do you think victims feel that we're now as a society trying to accommodate to these people?
I don't know.
Like, get the fuck out of here. Okay, on to something less aggravating but kind of shocking.
Well, I'm sure it was aggravating to somebody.
Yes.
Since, like, somebody got their head cut off.
Several body parts belonging to a man and a woman were discovered in a park in Babylon, New York. So a female head, right upper leg, left leg from the knee down, and right arm and 2 male arms were found. Autopsies are underway to determine the identities of the victims and what happened to them.
All right, so I think that they did figure out who they were.
Okay.
Actually. But regardless, so we've been talking about over the past couple weeks. Like, last week, it was a finger was found in the parking lot at Walmart. The week before that, it was a leg was found on a platform of a train in New York, which later we found out was from a person that got hit by a train. And the person with the finger we never found out about, but we did read that it was from natural causes. So we're assuming that they just had an auto amputation from gangrene or something. This one, however, there's no, like, what happened here. When you find a head, it didn't just accidentally fall off. It didn't, well, you could lose your head, I guess, accidentally from a decapitation from an accident or something, but that's not what happened here.
No, they were clearly dumped there.
Yeah, this is clearly a homicide situation. Your head doesn't fall off from any kind of a natural process. So when these body parts, especially multiple body parts from different people, are sent to the medical examiner's office, they already know that they're investigating a crime.
Yeah, so a group of teenagers came upon one of the arms, called their dad, and then saw another arm, and then cadaver dogs found the rest of the parts.
I can't imagine just calling my dad and saying, like, Dad, we were walking the dog and I found a human arm on the side of the road. Could you come here and pick me up? Exactly.
So they were saying that the body parts had only been there maybe a few days or even hours. You know, there's tattoos on the guy's body parts, so I think that did help assist in identifying him, and we did a really good external exam about tattoos and forensics, so you guys should definitely check that out from a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's with our girl, Dr. Michelle Miranda. She's so awesome. And she's the kind of person that, like, she does forensic tattoo analysis and stuff. It's a really cool part of forensics, so check out that interview.
But yes, the neighbor in the park was saying that this was absolutely shocking, but not the first time limbs have been found in this park. So I don't know. It seems like a small town community, and it would be certainly very disturbing of this nature to know not one, but two people's remains were found in this park, and you don't know where they came from, so horrible.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, next, a Stanley Cup actually saved a woman's life. So this woman says she was at home with her fiance when bullets began flying into her home. One of them grazed her Stanley Cup, which deflected the bullet and ended up saving her life.
So this is not the first time that a Stanley Cup has saved someone's life, apparently. Remember, we
had a YouTube comment a couple weeks ago. We were talking about one of these Stanley Cup stories, and somebody shared with us that they heard a story of a person that was walking or taking a jog with their Stanley, and somebody attacked them, and they were able to use it to beat the guy off. So
I'm more impressed that you could take a run holding a Stanley, because they're like 50 pounds.
Yeah, so the Stanley team is apparently thankful to learn about the woman's life-saving experience, but they issued a statement that said, "However, we do not recommend our products be used for safety protection purposes."
Oh
So
my God.
don't
Well,
try to do any experiments by yourself.
We had that one case too of I don't even know, I feel like we talked about this at some point, that the woman had she had her Stanley Cup in the car, and then her car caught on fire and there was like still ice in it.
Yeah, it was
after
like
the fire.
perfectly intact afterwards.
So I would say this. I don't think it has anything to do with the Stanley Cup. This happens all the time. If somebody shoots a gun at you and it hits something on the way, then it's going to change the trajectory of the bullet, right? And I actually have a case in the gross room. It's called Bulletproof Chest. And it's a case about how a breast implant saved someone when they got shot. And as you know, a breast implant's like a pillow. It's a soft thing, but it just goes to show that it could slow down the trajectory of a bullet and where it's going. So that's a really cool case that you could read about.
Yeah, so, okay. On to our next one. This one's really horrible. So, this Florida sheriff has apologized after posting a photo of a dead body on Instagram. So, a photo of a body wearing a green top and blue jeans lying beneath a mound of brush was posted in a carousel of images to Instagram, trying to highlight a community event for seniors hosted by the sheriff. So, this was on the police department's official Instagram page. The photo was posted just a day after the corpse of a 13-year-old named Madeline Soto was found in rural St. Cloud by the sheriff's search teams. So, first I want to start off with, is it necessary that our police departments have social media? Because
I think it is, because what happens, like, when there's an active shooter, they want to put out a statement to say, like, this is happening right now. I think it is. I'm going to tell you what happened. I think that a lot of times in investigations and stuff, especially even at the hospital and everything, there's like situations with the camera. It's just easier sometimes to use a photo, to use a phone to take the photos, even the scene photos. I'm not sure what the police do, because I've never worked for the police or anything, but I'm thinking rather than having a camera that might not work or might have weird lighting situation, like the phone camera kind of works pretty good all the time and most people know how to use it. They probably have a specific one that's just for the department, which might even go directly to the Instagram, right? You know, when you're uploading photos for like a carousel and sometimes it like picks a bunch of them by accident because you're moving your finger too much? It's probably something like that happened. And he so happened to have a scene photo there and it just like accidentally got on there and he didn't check it correctly. Well, like, I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah, so that was my next question. Is my question earlier, I am in support of the police departments having social media, but I've been seeing it come up a lot where, is it appropriate that they're posting pictures so regularly so something like this could happen? But my second question was, how did this get on a phone? Because you have to post on Instagram through a phone. You could access Instagram on a website, but you cannot actively post on it from a computer space. So like you're saying, this might have been a department's phone, right? That the picture was taken on, but still I feel like that's kind of breaking some regulation in some way that it's just living on the phone device.
Yeah, I don't know the details, like I said. I'm just assuming, and just from what I've seen working and stuff, it's just like sometimes sometimes there's phones dedicated just for the job, and that's what I think happened probably.
Yeah, so then another
I mean, it's not good
No,
because especially this is a homicide case, right?
I understand what you're saying about them taking the pictures on their phone, but there should be some process where you take them and they are immediately uploaded to the proper case file and then they're removed from the device.
Yeah, I get that. And they probably have some kind of programs, like some kind of, I don't know, police apps or something that you can do that.
Yeah.
Because, like, what if the phone gets lost?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Or
saying.
what if someone guesses the password or whatever? And the thing is especially with homicide cases that are going to be going to court and stuff, that's evidence, right? So you don't want that to get into the wrong hands, I guess. But I don't think it was, I mean, I think it was just an accident.
Yeah, I think it was an accident too, which is still like,
and
get it together.
Yeah, like we would love to hear from any police officers or anybody that handles these kinds of investigations, if that's like really frowned upon. I just know that especially I went through this time even in the hospital, like we had this the camera that we had to take pictures of specimens and stuff, it just was like so shitty. Like you just couldn't ever get, even if you put it on auto, you couldn't get like as crisp of pictures or something like that. And it's just always like this debate because like the iPhone has a better camera than like, not to say it's a better camera than like what are they called?
DSLR.
Yeah. Like if it's not better than that, but Maria knows how to use that. Like I'm like a person that doesn't know how to use that. And I think most people don't know how to use like a real camera to adjust the settings and everything.
Yeah, but you took a class in college that taught you how to take pictures.
Yeah. And it was terrible. I went to the hospital actually, and I did all of those settings. What was it, like f-stop and all of that stuff? And what is it? I don't even remember.
Shutter
Whatever
speed.
it was. I took it off of auto and I did all that shit I learned in the photography class, and the pictures were even worse. So then I put it on auto. I was just like, you know what? I don't care. I just want to take a goddamn picture. I don't care.
So what was not an accident was a separate photo that was posted where a selfie of agency executive director took a selfie in front of the prime suspect in Madeline's disappearance and then posted it to her Facebook.
She took a picture with him?
The selfie is like her face with him coming out of the door, getting back in a patrol car. Totally inappropriate. It's not like with him where they're both smiling. He's like crouched down and not paying attention in the background. But it's like when somebody's at a restaurant and they see a celebrity at the booth and they're like taking a picture and they're in the background. But what are you doing?
Yeah, that's really inappropriate, actually.
Both the photos have now been deleted, but what's going on in your head that you think that's okay? And especially, you shouldn't be taking a picture like that at all, and you especially shouldn't be posting it to your Facebook. Like, what is the purpose? And like, let's say, for example, this guy's arrested, but he's still not been convicted of this crime, right? Even if all evidence at this time points to him. So you can't be posting like, oh, this is the killer, right? Because he still has not been formally convicted in court.
Yeah, there's just like this whole thing with like killers and you know, an interest in that kind of stuff. John Wayne Gacy, I mean, I know that these people are way more infamous and stuff, but there's a certain level of like interest that some people have with these really horrible people. Okay, let's get on to the medical news.
All right, so a Long Island-based vegan market called Cindy Snacks says it was sold donuts from a nearby bakery that falsely claimed the treats were homemade, vegan, and gluten-free. So they got their order dropped off, and they noticed one of the donuts that was strawberry frosted didn't look like any of the other donuts they had in the order. And to make it even better, there was little purple and orange D sprinkles all over the donut, which are the signature colors of the chain Dunkin' Donuts. So the owner of the market messaged the baker that they had been ordering from and said, I don't mean to insult you or anything, but are these donuts from Dunkin'? Because we think we're buying vegan, gluten-free donuts from you, and this looks like a Dunkin' donut. And that person immediately doubled down and said, no, it is not from Dunkin'. And the owners were trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and be like, can you show us some proof that they're not Dunkin', basically? So the baker sends them pictures of these alphabet sprinkles, which are not the same size, and they're rainbow color. They're not all orange and purple D's. They're all different colors. So obviously this is a Dunkin' Donut. This owner takes the donut and does this at-home gluten test, which I didn't even know was a thing. Apparently you could take little strips and test food if they have gluten in them, and of course it was positive. And this person had apparently been doing this for a while, and I'm laughing reading this article and looking back at pictures other customers have posted of these donuts because they are so clearly Dunkin' Donuts to me. I mean, even the Valentine's Day ones were heart-shaped and had the same color sprinkles. Like, how did nobody pick this up for so long?
I think in general, like, a vegan person might not pick it up.
Yeah.
Listen, like, I'm gluten-free and, like, I've eaten vegan food, and there's just, like, there's no comparison, like, to the regular thing, right? So most people that eat it know that it's not real, right? But vegan's a little bit different, so because it's more of a dietary preference than an allergy, except if people have, like, a lactose
a lot of people will eat vegan food if they have, like, egg or dairy allergies because they know it's safe.
But just think about this. Like, if people go home and eat these, right, even a person that's got celiac, they're going to get sick, and then they're just going to be like, well, fuck that place. I'm not going to eat there anymore, right? I don't trust that place. And they'll tell all their gluten-free friends, right? But, like, maybe they might not hear about it for a while because people might, and, like, people like me and you that just have a sensitivity might get, like, a headache or a little bloating and just be like, all right, we've done that several times that we're just like, we're not eating that because it bothers us for some reason, right? So I think that's what happened in this case, and that's how they don't know. But especially if you're a person like us that only eats gluten-free donuts that absolutely taste like crap most of the time, they're like lead. When you pick them up, they're like physically heavy because they can't make them like really fluffy and delicious. Like, I don't really consider Dunkin' Donuts to be that great, to be honest.
Really delicious when they're fresh.
Beeler's is way better. There's like an Amish donut place in the Reading
Tim
Terminal.
Hortons is my new shit now. Those donuts
I don't know.
are amazing.
I don't know. But anyway, regardless, like, any person that's gluten-free would pick up the Dunkin' Donuts donut and be like, this isn't gluten-free just based on the texture of it alone. Like, it's just not possible.
I would definitely have speculation with that. There's many problems here because I was thinking back to my Dunkin' experiment last month where I had half of a brownie batter donut and I felt really shitty the next 2 days afterwards, but I knew that it was from that and I willingly ate that knowing it could potentially bother me. But when you're getting food out, you might not realize what you ate that bothered you, right? So a lot of people might have been eating these regularly and not even realizing for a while that it was coming from the source. And, they want to trust this market because this market is supposed to be doing its due diligence, looking into all their vendors. And, the market did come forward and say that this was happening and let all the customers know. And it seems like a lot of people are being really supportive of them, but also some people are really criticizing them, saying, why didn't you look into this more? And apparently
it's kind of genius. So the person, how much do you think a dozen of Dunkin' is? Like
$10.
$10, okay, right? So they probably went to this market and were like, oh, here's a dozen of vegan gluten-free donuts. I'm going to charge you $50 for, like, it's just so much more money.
No,
right?
I mean, there's this breakfast place near Ricky's work, and the lady straight up buys cinnamon rolls from Costco and sells them for $5 each. I mean, the entire tray of them probably costs $5.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what's happened. And so these people are just like, oh, I'm going to get over on these people. And we talked about this last week with the case in Disney that the woman died from being exposed to an allergen. And it's like, you just, if you have serious, like, if you have celiac especially, there's people that you could trust, obviously, because they're hardcore about it too. But when you go, especially if you go to a place and you're not really sure of the person and they're new or whatever, you got to be skeptical because you can get really sick.
Yeah, and that's a lot of I mean, beyond it just being kind of a scammer move from the baking, like they were called Savory Fig, the vendor. So besides it being shady behavior from the vendor, I was somebody that at one time sold baked treats on the side to make extra money, and I would have been paralyzed by fear of somebody getting sick from my product like that, right? So it's kind of really ballsy to be advertising these as two things you know are really, well, one thing in particular, gluten, which can be a really severe allergy, and marketing them otherwise. And people were saying they went back on Savory Fig's Instagram and could see a clear difference when they were homemade donuts and when they shifted to the Dunkin' Donuts. So
Unreal.
I don't know, like,
Pretty ballsy.
yeah, it is ballsy. The market's considering legal action. I don't know what they're
Well,
gonna
what
do
legal
about it.
action are you gonna do? Like, did anybody die? Come on.
I don't know, because it seems like it's unclear how
Well,
long they were.
I guess that could affect their business, so maybe they would have a leg to stand on with that.
Yeah, if they could prove that they lost a substantial amount of income or had their business affected by this, then I certainly think they have a case. But otherwise, I don't think they would have known unless that person was so stupid to drop off like such an obvious Dunkin' Donut, right? But
yeah, I know.
who knows how long this could have gone on if it wasn't for the D sprinkles all over telltale sign. Okay, next we have a potential blindness epidemic. So Gen Zers are getting increasingly nearsighted from staring at their electronic devices all day and face a blindness epidemic if they continue to stay indoors while phone addicted.
Yeah, I believe that. My eyes started going bad and rapidly got worse when I was looking in the microscope when I started like 19 years old, right? And they told me that when I would go to the eye doctor, like you're looking at this all day and you're straining your eyes, and that's why your eye vision is getting so bad, because that's the kind of sight problem that I have. But they're saying that it's not only the screen, it's also if you have a decrease in dopamine that your eyes can get bad too. And they're saying that because kids are sitting on their phones all day and not going outside and getting sunlight, that they're not getting, like, sunlight apparently triggers dopamine response and they're not getting that. And that's also making the problem worse.
Yeah, I
mean, not surprised.
I've even noticed in the last couple months since we started doing this show that these podcast days take me a really long time and I'm on the computer staring at the screen. I mean, right now I have an enormous round light in my face and I have the computer screen in my face, and I don't know if people on YouTube notice this, but my eyes tear up really easily all the time, and I feel like it's because I'm just constantly staring at a screen and just have these bright lights in my face. Like I told you yesterday, I have to go to the eye doctor because my prescription's definitely changing. I mean, I feel like my vision is so weird right now from staring at the screen, and I've been trying to do all those special techniques of, you could turn this like red light on your computer, but at the same time, I have to edit a visual show and make sure that the colors are correct. So I can't always have those special settings on.
And then those like stupid blue light glasses that turned out to not do anything.
Yeah, like I apparently have a blue light filter in my glasses and I notice no difference. So
didn't you write about this in the gross room about blue light glasses, that they did all these studies on them and they didn't really like do anything?
Yeah, my article was prompted because I think Addison Rae came out with some blue light makeup. I don't remember. I wrote this article a couple years ago, but
yeah,
it doesn't really do what they say it does. So eyes are very important. So hopefully we'll figure out a way. Next is about the increase in obesity throughout the world. So why don't you get into this one?
Wow. So last week I posted a picture of, it was a sagittal section. So if a person's cut in half down the middle, of two cadavers. One was of average weight, and the other one was someone that was obese. And people like go look at that post on Instagram because people just like lost their shit over that and fighting and typical Instagram nonsense. But I just showed it just so people can look for themselves and not have me tell them about visceral fat and internal fat and everything. You can look for yourself and make your own determination, because clearly if I say anything against it, it's like we just should ignore what all of our eyes are seeing, right? And there's just been, these numbers are staggering, that since 1990, the amount of adults that have been diagnosed with obesity has doubled since 1990. So that's like when I was a kid, right? Like what was I in 1990 to 11 years old, right? Or the more staggering one is that it has quadrupled in children. So, and there's all these studies that say that if kids are obese, they end up growing up to be obese adults. They struggle with it for their entire life. They're saying 12% worldwide has obesity. Like it's out of control. And I think a lot of it is because, number one, we're kind of ignoring it and pretending like it doesn't exist when it does exist. And we can blame, I mean, there's so many different factors to blame it on, right? I could even say, like, you can blame it on DoorDash, right? Like, people don't even get up and go in their car anymore to get food. There's, like, no calories being burned. It's just, right? I mean, that could be a huge part of it. Just the difficulty of society and anxiety and depression, and things are really heavy right now. You know, that's another contributing factor. We're very busy right now. Most parents, if you even do have a 2-parent household, are working, and it's just like lots of processed foods. It's multifactorial, but I think that us saying like it doesn't exist and it doesn't make you not be unhealthy is just completely ignoring the huger problem of it. So, again, I just implore you to check out that post and read the comments and see for yourself what you think about it.
Let me tell you, this next one is something I never thought.
This is my favorite story of the week.
I never thought I'd hear this. So men are complaining about the stink associated with BBLs.
So apparently when you change your anatomy and you make your ass really big, your arm can't like reach around your butt as easily, and you can't wipe as properly. And there was one girl on there that was saying that her ass was so rock hard she couldn't barely get toilet paper between her ass cheeks.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
I never even thought of this when it came to this procedure at all, but this one guy said he was on a date and he just could not believe the smell, and it was like a, quote, assault on his nose.
I just love it so much. I'm just like, yeah, like spread that ass open and like let that smell come out. Yeah, real nice. It doesn't seem as sexy now, does it?
No, definitely not. Okay, next, a man woke up to find he was given a vasectomy by accident after going in initially for gallbladder operation in Argentina.
This shit is so outrageous. Like, so everyone in America is always like, yeah, these other countries have free healthcare and stuff. It's like, yeah, you really want this, don't you? Apparently, this guy was on the schedule to get his gallbladder removed, and then they put him on the schedule the following day. But that day, they didn't remove gallbladders, and his name accidentally got on the list of people that were getting vasectomies. And he went to sleep and he woke up and the nurse was like, oh, yeah, we made an accident. We gave you a vasectomy instead of removing your gallbladder.
Which he's devastated by because he wanted more kids.
So a vasectomy is just, they're cutting the vas deferens, which is not allowing you to get someone pregnant, basically. But there's a lot of holes in this story because the guy saying that he wanted to have more kids, but like, did he? I mean, I would say that too if I was looking to sue the hospital. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. He's also saying that there's no chance that they could fix it, and they reverse vasectomies and people have babies. I used to listen. Let me tell you about one nasty job I have that I don't think about too much. Is when I was a cytotech, I used to have to. This is like an interesting story, actually. So when we worked in cytology, we had to look at semen under the microscope, right?
Yeah.
When guys are having problems, usually when they're having problems getting their significant other pregnant, right?
Okay.
So the guys, but like the fresher the specimen, right? So the guys would have to come in and like jerk off in our bathroom. And it was like our bathroom at the hospital that like the employees used. We had one bathroom in our department.
Ew.
So we would go like run. I never told you this story, actually. So one time Susie, remember Susie? I love Susie. Susie was running into the bathroom and she was like had to pee her pants, she ran over there and she just like opened the door and there was a guy sitting on the floor like waxing his carrot like on the floor just
Ew.
in the hospital.
Don't use
Yes.
that term ever again.
Well, that's how we used to describe it when Susie found this guy.
Disgusting.
And he never dropped his specimen off. He was so embarrassed that he left. But like all the time, it would be like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom right before we go to lunch. And then you would knock on the door, it'd be locked. And some guy would be like coming out,
Ew.
like bringing his specimen to the window. Yeah. And we know what they're doing in there, right? It was just, we're just like, there can't be like a special room where I felt bad for the guys too. There would always be like a wife standing outside the door, like tapping her foot, like, come on, let's get this over with. And it was just like a clinical hospital bathroom.
Yeah, because don't like fertility clinics have special rooms that have like magazines and stuff?
That's what I thought. I thought they would have had like a TV and some movies and like a little entertainment. No, it just was like, go in this room right now and make this happen and give this. It was just totally mortifying for the guy, to be honest with you.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so I used to do this. So anyway, getting back, I went on a little bit of a tangent here, but when a guy gets a vasectomy, they could reverse it. And then I would look at the sperm to, number one, check to make sure that the vasectomy worked. And number two, if a person had it reversed, to see if sperm were moving through. And I'll tell you that lots of times even if a guy had a vasectomy, sometimes you would see 1 or 2 sperm here or there. Not like the millions that are normally there, but guess what? It only takes 1 to get someone pregnant. So yeah, it's not as easy, but they reverse vasectomies and people have babies that way all the time. That being said, he should have never had that done by accident, but that was just like a little side note for you.
No, okay. Doctors at a New Delhi hospital removed 39 coins and 37 magnets from a man's intestine after he swallowed them under the assumption that zinc would help with his bodybuilding.
What a moron.
The picture from this is really good, too. I thought you would really appreciate the pictures in this article.
It is. It's just, I don't even know if I buy that story. Like, I understand he wanted to increase his zinc. He probably could have died from this easily. Just not from zinc toxicity, but also from magnets and metal are not good. And that's exactly what happened. He ate them. They got into his GI tract. And what happens is like, think of your intestines like a hose, right? And you have some magnets in one portion of this hose and some magnets in the other portion of the hose. Well, what happens when magnets get near each other? They click. And then the magnets click together and all of a sudden you have the hose is like kinked together basically. And you're causing an obstruction. So that's the reason that he went to the hospital, because he was in a tremendous amount of pain and they found all this stuff. And this is a condition known as pica when people eat things that are not nutritional, which is, it happens all the time. There's not like a reason. Sometimes people don't really have a reason except that they have this condition. So he's saying that that's why he did this. Maybe he was trying to make it seem like he had a real reason to do that. Maybe he really did. I don't know where he heard that from, but luckily they were able to save his life and he was only in the hospital for a week and then he was leaving. He left and seems to be fine.
Yeah, so definitely a weird...
I don't know if you're mentally fine, but...
This is something out of, like, My Strange Addiction for sure.
That's like another really good show, actually.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, on to other death news. So first, let's start off with excessive drinking deaths. Get into this one.
All right, so this one's a little weird. And I kept reading the article over and over again to make sure that this was making sense to me. Because, obviously, like, the lockdowns caused loneliness, depression, so-and-so. But they're saying, the CDC is saying that throughout the pandemic, they were having up to 500 deaths a day because of over alcohol consumption. 500 deaths a day. Okay?
Yeah.
You read that correctly, right?
Yeah.
So there's a website that I've been looking at this entire time of the pandemic and everything that's called ourworldinData.org. So in April of 2020, that's really when everything started. Right before that started going to shit, like when they locked down on Lillian's birthday. It was March 17th. At the peak of that time, there were, and this is when like the whole world shut down, the highest amount of deaths in one day was 2,271. And you saw what they did from COVID, right?
Yeah.
But like you're saying at that time, there was 500 people a day dying from alcohol. That's like not too far off of that number. You know what I mean? And they weren't doing anything about that. And they were keeping people in that depressed, lonely state. You know what I mean? Like they just didn't. I mean, I guess in hindsight, you could look back and say, oh, well, lots of people were affected by the lockdowns. But I mean, I think there was plenty of people that were arguing that it was a really horrible idea at the time. So I don't know how they got to that. But even in June, so in June, this is April 2020, 2,271 people died. That was at the peak of the pandemic. June of that same year, it went down. June 30th, 2020, it was 868 people died a day. But you're saying that 500 people were dying a day from alcohol use during that time. To me, it was like equivalent. It should have been equivalently like important. I don't know. Like, I'm just looking at the numbers on this website.
I mean, I think it's just important to note that, you know, not a lot of people knew what was coming at that time. It was scary for everybody. There was stress. You know, they said stress, loneliness, social isolation, and mental health conditions all contributed to excessive alcohol consumption. You know, I drank, like, I don't really drink that much, but I certainly drank more when I was in the house because I didn't have any responsibilities for months. So you have to take that all into consideration. But I think what you're trying to get at...
It was increased more in women than in men, for sure.
Yeah, and I think what you're trying to get at is just, like, why wasn't this as sensationalized as everything else? Because it's just as important that we understand the effects of this.
That's why I was reading the article and thinking, like, they put this article out and nobody's really made a big deal about it. And
because people want to keep drinking. Like, you know what I mean? People make big deals out of what they want to make big deals about.
Yeah, I get that.
People want alcohol. Alcohol is one of the wealthiest industries in this entire world. So they're not going to make a big deal about it. And I'm sure alcohol companies will even pay to try to kill this article from reaching the light.
Yeah, nobody cares.
No.
I doubt that it was even like talked about on the news, honestly.
No, because they all drink too, so they don't want to hear it. It's just what it is. It was like when all the information started rolling out about cigarettes in the 50s and 60s, right? Like everybody smoked, everyone. And nobody wanted to hear it because everybody smoked. And until somebody they know died, you know, it's until somebody you know is directly affected, right? Then you start caring.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes into play. Okay, last story is about a new autopsy simulator game. So Autopsy Simulator is an upcoming narrative-driven psychological horror game coming to 2024.
Yeah, I just added this one in as a little fun thing. I didn't even hear about this, but apparently they've consulted real forensic scientists and it's going to be a game, but you're also going to be given a case to solve a crime and do an autopsy. I'm like, I did see there is like a video that they show like a teaser of it and the morgue looks really creepy and the real morgue doesn't look so creepy. I guess if the lights were kind of broken, it could look a little creepy, but they didn't really show anything as to what the autopsy would look like. But I am curious just to see what it looks like if it's real looking.
I think what's weird is that you're playing a person seemingly having a psychological breakdown and then performing an autopsy while you're mid-psychological breakdown.
I don't know. Like, I think I was just thinking, like, if it was like a real game, like a real CSI game kind of thing, that would be kind of fun. But I don't understand the whole you're having a breakdown and doing, like, why would you do that and then do an autopsy? I don't really understand it.
I don't know. In the trailer, it looked like there was like pills involved. Is there like some simulation where you're high trying to do the
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I saw the guy like taking pills and I'm like, wait, like you have to. I mean, you do have to mentally prepare to do that, maybe, but I don't know what that was all about.
Okay, so on to questions of the day. Every Friday on the @MotherKnowsDeath Instagram, we put a little question box up. You guys can ask whatever you want. First we have is, can you get an autopsy for your pet?
Yeah, you can actually. It's called a necropsy, and they are done. They're usually, if you want the vet to do it, I think that the vet could do it, or they maybe will send the body somewhere to get it done. They do it if your dog dies and you want to know what the cause of death is, but like you have to pay for that. And sometimes that might not be worth it to you. Sometimes the vet might ask you if they can do an autopsy on your animal for training purposes. So they do them. And they also, this is like kind of interesting that you're asking this, because I do have a post coming up in the Gross Room this week about a necropsy that was done on a dog for a forensic case, actually. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking to a forensic scientist that does these necropsies on animals. They help because animals can be victims of crimes too, right? Like they can get shot. They could help with forensic investigations. And also they do forensic autopsies on these animals because of cases of animal abuse. So crimes get committed against animals too. So yeah, it's totally a thing.
All right. What other cities, states will we live in if we could go anywhere else?
I don't know, because I really haven't been to any other states. I feel like I would want to live in Arizona, but I've never really actually been there. Florida, no, it's I do love Savannah actually, but I can't deal with that environment and my hair. I just can't do it. My hair is like this big and crazy and just I couldn't do it. Frizzy. What do you think? Are you like Tennessee?
Yeah, my dream is to move to Tennessee. I don't think Nashville's for me, but I really loved Knoxville a lot. And what I really loved about being there was I like that it's kind of a small city. It's very, it's clean. You could ride the scooters everywhere and you could just walk a lot of places and it's really nice. And the food's really good there. And on top of that, it's only an hour away from the Smoky Mountains. So it's really like where we live outside of Philadelphia, the beach is only an hour from us. So to think that the Smoky Mountains is an hour from there is really cool because you can just, go pop over there for a day and do some fun things. My dream is to live in the mountain-like setting, and Knoxville isn't quite the mountains, but it's close enough for me that I would really like it, and it has the city vibe too, so you're not living in like total isolation.
See, I really like where we live right now because we live, like, I could be in Philly in 10 minutes. New York takes us, what, like an hour to get there?
Like 2.
If with traffic and everything, yeah, I guess like almost 2 hours. But the shore, we can go to the Poconos and mountains. Like, it's just like a good DC, couple hours. Like, it's a good central location. And I don't know if I could really ever move away from my family. Like, I always say that, like, I would love to have this house or whatever, but like ultimately I don't think I would do it. I could definitely live down the shore though. I think like I would rather be around pretty scenery than I am right now, because now it's just like houses too close together kind of thing. But if I could get a house like down the shore in a non-congested part, or in Pennsylvania somewhere that's a little bit more chill, but I'd probably still stay around this area.
All right, last, how did we meet our husbands?
Wawa. I met Gabe at Wawa.
I first met Ricky at a birthday party for a mutual friend's kid, and then we were both dating other people at the time, and then a year and a half went by, and then we weren't dating other people, and I feel like he kept accidentally bumping into me. And then our really good friends, Amanda and Byron, brought him into my work one night because they knew that he had a crush on me, and I kind of had a crush on him, and then we started kind of hanging out then the week after that we bumped into each other again, and then we started talking from there. But I blew him off at first because I was graduating college that week, and I'm like, I don't have time for you, so leave me alone right now. But he was patient, and I'm thankful because he's the best husband ever.
Oh.
So tomorrow morning, if anybody listens to this tonight or early tomorrow morning, Friday, March 8th, you are going to be on the Elvis Duran morning show around 7:50 in the morning. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Stoked to go up there. Is Kitty next to you too? New Kitty? We have a new family member.
Oh yeah, I can't really grab her right now. She's under my leg, but we adopted a cat that's a little handicapped. She is missing an eye and a leg on the same side. And she's just so cute and sweet. I'll bring her on next time. She just sits there all day and chills. She's just like so sweet, and we're in the process. We adopted her on Sunday, so we're in this like slow process of transitioning her and into the new cat with our old cat Thumpkin. And so she's like in my office, and then the other cat's outside. So now they have seen each other through the glass door, but they haven't met yet, like officially, and we're a little bit nervous about that because my other cat is very active and this one's just kind of chill, but she's obviously been through a lot. She was found in Camden, and she had a pencil tied to her leg with electric tape. Someone, I guess she had been injured, and someone tried to repair it themselves. That's how she was walking around the city. And she also had a ruptured eye globe. So I don't know what happened to her, but she's been through a lot, and she's really sweet and cute. So
Yeah,
and
she is really
her
cute.
name. So her name that they gave her this is a shout out to the Pennsauken Animal Hospital, and they're doing a helping paws thing. They find these cats or animals too, dogs, and they rehabilitate them and put them with a foster home until they could be adopted. So they had named her Peggy the Pirate because she has a peg leg, and they put like a little emoji over her eye of a pirate patch, which I thought was so cute. And so that's her name as of right now. The kids debate on Gabe wants to call her Tripod, and I'm like, okay, I get the joke.
I think you should keep Peggy. It's kind of a really cute name. It's like really mid-century.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. And like, what are you gonna call the cat Tripod? That's just like dumb. Like, it's a dumb animal name. It's not a name. And he did say Eileen, which was funny, like Eileen to one side. I thought that was kind of funny. But no, I think Peggy the Pirate is fine. But Lillian and Lulu don't seem to think that it fits her personality. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Check out your appearance on Elvis Duran tomorrow morning, Friday, March 8th. And we have an awesome external exam next week with authors of the new book, The Unclaimed. So don't miss that one.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one. Check it out.